Well, good afternoon. May I say that it has been a good day already in Georgia. I am rejoicing that the Senate has finally given approval to what I believe to be one of the best legislative measures and most important measures that we have taken up in a good long while here. House Bill 159, the adoption bill. This bill will matter to children in foster care. It will touch many lives. It will expedite the adoption process. It will bring our adoption laws as a state in line with other states. And I can think of nothing more important that we could do for the most vulnerable of our children here in Georgia than to finally pass this bill. I want to commend the House of Representatives for giving unanimous approval twice last session to this bill and again last Thursday. I think that speaks to the fact that we can lead, that we can put aside party differences and other differences that we may sometimes think are significant that really aren't, and do the right thing. Sometimes I don't know why it takes a long time to do the right thing, but we're going to look forward today and be pleased with the action that was finally taken. I cannot say enough about Representative Bert Reeves. He has championed this measure now he's in his third year. He has worked hard. He's worked with passion. He's worked with conviction. He has brought real evidence to the table to make the case for this bill. I don't know when I've been as proud of a member of the House of Representatives as I am Representative Reeves, and I'm honored to ask him to make a few remarks at this time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for those kind words. And today is really a great day. It is a great day for Georgia. This process started for me about 2.5 years ago, and it's been the greatest labor of love that I've ever been involved with in my professional career. I can say with authority that every family in the state of Georgia who is going through an adoption or who is planning on or thinking about going through an adoption and adopting a child is going to benefit in many, many ways by this legislation becoming law. And every child in this state that is needing to be adopted is going to have a clearer pathway forward in that now. I must take a moment and say thank you to a few folks. It's hard to express my gratitude to Governor Deal and his staff for their lockstep support with me on this issue. And Governor Deal has stood up and has really been behind what we have done in the House on this, and I'm so grateful for that. This man right here has been my personal champion on this bill. I've spent a lot of time with him as we've gone through this in the last 2.5 years on this issue, and I tell y'all where his heart is on this, and this matters so much to him, and he has just been there for me from day one on this, and I'm eternally grateful for that, and as well for my House colleagues. When I got involved in this bill 2.5 years ago, my starter on the whole thing was that I wanted to make a commitment to do a bipartisan bill. I wanted to do something that every single person in the General Assembly could be proud of, and that was my commitment on this, and I'm so thankful for my House colleagues for recognizing that commitment. This wasn't a Republican or a Democratic thing. This was a Georgia thing, and I believe that we were able to really come together and show the power that we have when we work together. And I also want to thank our friends in the Senate. I applaud Lieutenant Governor Casey Cagle for his leadership in the Senate, and also for Senate leadership. They worked very hard. This was a tough, emotionally driven issue, and we had some parts of this that we really had to work through, and that's how this process works. And I'm very proud of where we reached. The place that we landed, I think, was the best possible place, and that is has a lot to do with the input that the Senate has given and the way that they have impacted the bill. This bill has been a collaboration of many groups: the Georgia Council of Adoption Lawyers, adoption agencies from all over the state, our Superior Court judges, and most importantly, Georgians who have adoption stories. Their input is what has shaped where we are today. I also want to thank the members of the media. Many of you in this room have taken so much interest in this issue and have been very diligent about reporting this, and that's something that I thank you for. We've had so many groups that have been supportive. Our even though adoption is really a family-related thing, our business community, our Georgia Chamber and Metro Atlanta Chamber have been so supportive and behind this measure because they know that this is important for Georgia. And as we do everything that we can in this body to make Georgia the best state in the country, this is part of that, of creating this kind of environment where adoptions can be easier for our citizens. So with that, I'll be happy to take some questions.
I guess, could you talk about this, the formation of the Joint Study Committee? Because obviously the Senate still had some concerns, particularly about, I think, some fees.
Sure, I obviously very recently learned of hearing of that, and so I haven't even had time to process that yet, and so I think that's something that we'll have to visit down the road.
Have you spoken with the governor, or do you feel like he'll go along with this compromise?
I do. I haven't had a personal conversation with him, but knowing that his office was involved in the part of the bill that we've dealt with over the last couple of weeks that was vetoed last year, that was put on this bill, that he had some concerns with. I do know that he has reached a point of comfort on that, and so I do not foresee any issues in that respect.
Mr. Speaker, you've talked about you don't know why it's so hard to get such an important piece of legislation done, and it has been through a road where we've talked about everything from religious liberty to power of attorney to living expenses toward now finally getting it done. Is it just competing interest? Is it politics? What do you think is it that made it so difficult?
Well, I don't know. I'm probably the wrong person to ask that question to. We passed what I thought was a good bill here, we had all these different things put on over there. We had the amendment that was added late last session, then it's taken off, and then we put a bill on that's been vetoed by the governor. So I'll defer those questions to the other body.
Now that it's done, do you think that this will clear the way for more collaboration and more legislation to move forward in both chambers?
Well, I hope so. I said early on that this was important unfinished business from last session, and I thought that we needed to get this passed to set a better tone for the session going forward. So it is my hope that will be the case, and we will, in the House, we'll certainly entertain it that way.
Mr. Speaker, do you agree, or how do you feel about those who say the bill is better now that the Senate had weighed in on it and came in with their amendments and changes?
Well, we all have our different perspectives on the bill. I thought the bill was a great bill when it left the House last year. Sometimes other chambers want to put different measures on, and so, you know, we have to put a little window dressing sometimes to, when we do that, and so, you know, it's in the eye of the beholder, I suppose. You know, I trusted the judgment of Representative Reeves and the members of this House in here, and they approved it, and so it's now been approved by both chambers, and so I think that's what's important.
Representative Reeves, can you talk about, assuming this bill gets signed, what are some of the potential impacts that you're going to be looking at over the next few years? How is this going to change the way that adoption works?
Well, you know, and it's how much time do y'all have? The bill.
don't have that much.
I don't have that much time. The bill probably does 100 different things, but you know, whatever type of adoption, there are different types of adoptions. There's agency adoptions, there's what we call private or independent adoptions, step-parent adoptions, relative adoptions, international adoptions, foster care adoptions, all of these different types of adoptions. Every single one of them will experience a great level of efficiency improvement. I expect that we'll see things move quicker. We have, over the last 30, it's been almost 30 years since Georgia adoption law has gone through a significant change, and we've watched trends happen all over the country as states' adoption policies have evolved. And a lot of that's had to do with the coming of the internet and the fact that everything we do is really not considered so much to be in our own state, but it's kind of cross country, and that's changed adoption in a lot of ways. But our laws were structured in a way that really wasn't accounting for that, and so that really has a trickle down with every aspect of adoption policy. And so we brought many areas into the 21st century, and Georgia now, our residents will enjoy similar options and efficiencies that you can't get here right now, but that you can get in other states. And kind of the main concern, and really what spearheaded the effort to do this from the beginning, was there's this growing trend of Georgians leaving Georgia and going and adopting in other states because it's just easier to do it in other states. It doesn't take as much time. There's more certainty. And so this bill addresses many of those things and is going to give the Georgians confidence that this is the place. They don't have to leave our state to go adopt.
Representative Reeves, last session, last day, sine die, stayed here till almost 1 o'clock in the morning trying to get this passed. Can you talk about the disappointments then and how happy you are right now?
Sure, I've tried to put all that out of my mind, but you know, I have tried to move on from the challenges that we've dealt with in this. I mean, that's certainly been part of it, and we obviously tried very hard. We believed that we were ready to move this last year, and we did everything that we could. But you know, everything happens for a reason, and maybe that's oversimplifying. I don't know how else to say it, but here we are now, and what really matters is that today we did this, and when this is signed into law and becomes effective, it's going to help thousands of Georgians, and this is one of those opportunities where we're going to be able to see that we came together and we did something that's going to help so many of our residents.
If we can hold it right there, I've got to get the speaker in so we can start the session. Y'all can tell Bert apart. Diane's got it.
Bert, I'm sorry, let the speaker leave. Just one quick question. You say you've been working on this for 2 years. When are you going to work on that?
I look forward to going under the radar for a little while. Now, I am fortunate to chair a very busy subcommittee in the House, and we've got some significant bills, in fact, this afternoon in that subcommittee. So we move from one thing to the next here. This has taken all of my time thus far, but I'll be working on a lot of other pieces of legislation and probably going to try to, like I said, go under the radar for a little bit. So probably won't be pushing anything as big as this year. So.
Can you get a timetable that adoptions normally take 3 years to come to fruition? Now it should cut it down by half. Give us some context. We normally were able to get 1,500 children adopted per year. Now we should be able to double that. Do we have any estimates?
Those are all there's a lot of moving targets in those variables. You know, for example, we have this rising trend and rising number of Georgians that are leaving the state and going adopting in other states, some of our neighboring states, or even other places across the country. Our hope is that we can bring those back and keep them here in Georgia. And so I believe there will certainly be an increase in the volume of adoptions since we've kind of created a more friendly environment here for that. You know, this is some of the very technical aspects of the bill, but there's just a lot of tweaks. They're all very kind of small tweaks that were made to several technical areas of the law dealing with timing of when things happen in court, jurisdiction, where things can be filed, and all of these things, when you add them up, is going to create a more efficient system. We are especially hopeful that is going to have a great impact on our foster kids that are going through or that needing to be adopted. It does take much longer in Georgia for those to happen than nationally.
All members of this House will please report
I'm sorry.
to the floor. We are going to
What do you mean?
roll call soon. Clerk will ring the bell.
We should be able to improve the efficiency by 20%.
It's impossible. It's impossible to give metrics like that because every adoption is different. Every adoption is unique. Some adoptions are contested and therefore then end up in litigation. Some adoptions are not. Some are very, very simple and happen very quickly. And so it's hard to generalize in that. But what I can tell you is that we have made numerous adjustments and tweaks to our law that are aimed at creating greater efficiencies. Okay, y'all. Thank y'all so much.